Okay. Good morning, all. This is Gaurav from miniOrange. Uh, I welcome you all on all behalf of the miniOrange family. We are doing the webinar on the latest advancement in miniOrange identity and access management portfolio and the roadmap. We have already conducted the first webinar in the slot one. This is the slot second. The agenda of this webinar is to showcase the cutting edge technologies what we adopted at miniOrange to secure your infrastructure. We will be also showing you the different new features which we have released, which adds an extra layer to secure your infrastructure. So this webinar would be of around 40-45 minutes. And towards the end of this webinar, there are 15 minutes of slot where you can ask questions to our engineering team. You can interact with the engineering team. Meanwhile, while presenting a live demos, if you have questions, you can put those questions into the chat window or in the Q&A section. So once again, I welcome you all, and let's start with the webinar on the advancement of identity and access management portfolio of miniOrange. So as all of you know that we are into the space of identity and access management from last 10 odd years. We are having 15,000 plus customers worldwide, and most of you are also a part of Orange family. We have built 50 plus security product, which are riding on 5,000 plus security applications, which is built by the in-house team of around 500 plus software engineers. We are into 100 plus odd countries, and this journey from 5 customers to 15,000 customers has been completely organic. We are the partner of Microsoft, AWS, Oracle, and also we are into these marketplaces like Box, Atlassian, BigCommerce, Thinkific, and Drupal. We are the popular vendor when it comes to the single sign-on and multi-factor authentication plugin. And these two are nothing but the current rider in the cybersecurity market. So if you just type miniOrange and Gartner's Peer Insight Review, you'll find people are going gaga over our support. We are known into the market for 24/7 support, crisp product features, and the services what we offer. We have cloud as well as on-premises deployment, and also the hybrid deployment also, where few applications are on the cloud and few applications are on the on-premises. So this is basically, guys, our offering. We are having single sign-on. This single sign-on is basically nothing but we support all kind of applications. The applications which support standard protocol like SAML or JWT. The applications which are grown in-house, the applications which are built by the third party. The moment we know the technology stack of that particular applications, we can have a connectors for the same. We do have connectors, we do have solution for the legacy applications like SAP, Oracle, which basically does the header-based authentication. So in miniOrange, we support all kind of single sign-on applications. We are having single-click installations for 5,000 plus pre-integrated applications. When it comes to the MFA, which is our current rider in the cyber security market because of the many compliance issues, we are having MFA for all the applications. We are having MFA for the VPNs, all those support the radius protocol. We do have MFA for Windows, Mac, RDP, and Mac machines. And recently, we launched multi-factor authentication for switches, router, firewalls, and other devices. So we are the only vendor in the market who is having a holistic solution when it comes to the MFA. We are having 15 plus different MFA method, which includes online as well as offline methods, authenticator apps, hardware tokens, OTP or SMS, and many others. Next product is user lifecycle management, which basically is the provisioning, where we can do the provisioning and deprovisioning of any users on the fly. Post-COVID era, risk-based authentication became more popular, also known as adaptive authentication, where the employer wants to restrict the employees not only based on the credential, but also with respect to the time, with respect to the location, with respect to the device. So this is basically adaptive authentication and time of access too. Last quarter, we have launched privilege access management, which empowers the entities to secure their infrastructure and give a granular control over the privilege accounts. So in this webinar, we will be showcasing the latest and advanced features of all those solutions, which is mentioned over here. So whether your user base are stored in any of the databases, whether you are having your existing IDP, miniOrange easily, seamlessly integrate with those IDPs databases, and based on the target application, whether you want to have SSO, MFA, provisioning, PAM, it can seamlessly do this part. So when it comes to the cloud solution, our servers are hosted in US, Europe, and Australia. So this is the agenda of the today's webinar. We will be presenting you the privilege access management, where our engineering team will be showcasing you the short demo and showing with you the crisp features, how the PAM works, why there is a need of PAM, and how PAM completes the journey of identity and access management. We will also show the bottleneck, why there were n number of ransomware attacks on the workstations, on the machines, because we do not have the proper measures in the place, which brings to our next topic, where we will showcasing you how to protect your Linux Mac workstation with the MFA capabilities. We'll be also showcasing you a demo, a live demo on how to protect the network devices like router switches by using a protocol called as Tacacs or Tacacs Plus. After that, the very important part, most of us are running organization from last 20 odd years. So we are having definitely a legacy applications in our scenarios, in our infrastructure. So how to protect those applications, what kind of solution miniOrange is having, what are the features that we'll be talking about, and we'll be showcasing the live demo. And then the most innovative topic, where the users get created in your HRMS systems, and from there on how to completely close loop it when it comes to the giving access to that particular user to certain set of applications by automated provisioning, and the way when the user gets removed from the HRMS or CRMS systems, how to deprovision it on the fly without manual intervention. And the last but not least, we will be also showcasing you the additional feature what we have launched just now, bringing the MFA to a next layer of MS chat support. Again, I'm repeating, if you have any questions during this live demo, you can put those questions in the chat window. You can ask the questions, and once the session gets over, our engineering team will interact with you. You can raise the hand and we will unmute yourself, and there will be a good interaction session. So looking forward for you guys for this next 35 to 40 minutes of session. So we'll be starting with the privilege access management. Over to you, Pradeep.
Hi everyone, this is Pradeep here from miniOrange's team. So I'll share my screen and show you the addition of PAM with miniOrange IAM. So in the meantime, my screen is getting shared. So I would like to tell you what exactly is PAM is, what exactly it does, and what are different features covers under PAM. So PAM is just basically a privilege access management tool where you can manage all your accounts which are having more privileges than other user. So for example, the administrator accounts are one of them, the managerial account are one of them as well. So all those accounts comes under your privilege accounts. So because they have critical information and they have a lot of access in your resources, so adding an extra level of security is needed for them. So PAM basically provides you how exactly you can manage them, who can access those resources, and what are different activities they can perform. You can check with the help of PAM. And you can also provide them extra layers of security by adding multi-factor authentication on the required solutions. So this is the basic part of privilege access management. Now it comes why exactly you need PAM in your business. So PAM basically provides you a lot of security factors, including the compliances as well. So for example, if there's a resource of yours, and how exactly you will determine who is accessing those resources and what are different activities are performed by different users. So keeping track on every resource is not feasible. So for that particular reason, PAMs comes into the picture. PAMs provide you all those functionalities which are required for the compliances, for the security, and for the betterment of your, you can say, the infrastructure. So the first thing which I want to show you right now is the assets tab over here. This is the miniOrange PAM dashboard where you can see a lot of resources, including how many users are there, how many assets are there, and what are different system users and other things are there. So assets is basically any sort of RDP machine, or you can say SH machine, or any other machine which is accessed by the users from the organization. So we do support addition of those machines into the PAM dashboard so the user cannot access them directly. So over here, you can see that we do support SH, RDP, and VNCs. So the administrator can add those resources over here and allocate those resources to different users. So only those users who have the access, they will see those resources in their My Asset tabs. So they can access those resources and perform any sort of activity. Once they click on this access button, they'll be able to launch that RDP machine or the SS machine or the VNC machine in the browser itself. So over there, you can see that every activity which I can perform in the RDP machine, that is available to me on the browser itself. The second thing is the apps. So as your machines are critical, the same way your databases are critical as well. So providing extra layer of security in the database can be handled with the apps option over here. So if I go and add an application over there, you can see miniOrange does support many standard database, which includes Postgres, MySQL, MS SQL, and Oracle DB as well. So on the basis of these databases, the administrator can restrict the access of the user, what are different activities a user can perform in that database, and they can also see what are different commands or other activities have been performed by different users in that database. Again, they can be allocated to the users with the same way we have done in the assets, and the user can access them from here. So once they access it, they will be able to run all those commands which they can run on the server over there as well. After that, once these things are done, so miniOrange also provide each and every activities audit as well as recording. So if a user is trying to perform any sort of activity on those servers or the databases, they will be recorded with them. So over here on the auditing dashboard, you can see different reports. You can also see the overall reports, how many recordings are there, how many active sessions are there, how many active users are there. You can see the reports, what are different assets has been created or what are different app access has been done and which user did it at what time and what are the different browsers they were using, and all those things can be captured over here. You can also see the live recordings. If there's any user who's trying to access it currently, you can also see that and kill their session as well. We also support recordings as well. So once the session is over, our server will create a recording of that session or the video recording of that session, and that will be stored on your server. So the administrator can come into this dashboard and see which user performed which activity and what type of session has been created, at what time it was created, and the administrator can play that as well. So if I click on this play button, it will basically run whatever the different commands the user was running on the browser itself for me. So you can see the list of commands at what time they performed over here and directly go to that particular command part. What was the result? And this is a video. You can see whatever you want in that particular video. Now, moving to the next part, we also have a lot of other factors apart from the normal databases or the assets. We also have support for two-factor authentication and single sign-on. So basically, in some scenarios where you have some critical machines or critical operations, and you want the users to use two-factor authentication on top of that, that is also possible. So in case if there is a user who is trying to access a particular resource or trying to access a particular activity, and that is a critical activity, miniOrange will ask them multi-factor authentication before running this activity. The same way the single sign-on does support as we do it in IAM. So you can use your IDPs or the LDAP servers, AD servers, to log in into this dashboard. The users can use their AD credential to log in into this dashboard and access those resources. We also have support for storage configuration. You can store all these features, all those videos in different servers as well. So for example, if whatever the video recordings are being done and you want to audit them on a particular server, you can provide those information and add it over here. We do support Google Cloud, AWS, SCIM, many more of them. So all those recordings can be stored on different servers. Apart from that, miniOrange also support customization of the UI and other things so that you can customize the solution and make it as per your need. So this is the basic demo of the privilege access management. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Pradeep. It was really an insightful session. So where it has been asserted that privilege access management is an essential component of a robust security strategy. And there were many examples what you had given, which depicts, the main factors like principle of least privilege, which is a fundamental concept in a PAM. It states that users should only be given the minimum level of access necessary to perform their specific task, whether it is account monitoring, session management, just-in-time privilege access, which nothing but grants temporary and time-bound access only when required. So I think this all features what miniOrange is having adds an extra layer of security when it comes to the IAM. Next is our live demo. of Linux systems where we are providing MFA on tops of Windows, Linux, and Mac machine. So over to you, Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav, for the introduction. So now, after the PAM, we are moving towards the MFA for the Windows, Linux, and RDP or Mac devices. So typically, we are having this Windows solution from a lot of time, and we have been serving customers. But what we have seen is that in any organization, they have a combination of Windows, Linux, and Mac servers and desktops. So it is essential that we have a solution for all the types of workstations to make sure that none of our endpoints or machines are exposed. So some of the key features of our solution is that the offline authentication. So like even if the machine is offline or the server is offline, we can still use the TOTP based MFA methods. We have a single click GPO push. So basically all your workstations that are connected under a domain, you don't have to go and manually configure on each and every machine. It's just one click and all your machines will be enabled with MFA. We have 15 plus MFA methods that I'll show you after the demo. We support MFA for all the Linux distributions like Ubuntu, and multiple Fedora and many more. And also our solution is cyber insurance compliant. So let's move on to the actual demo. Let's see how the solution look and feel is. So this is my Ubuntu VM. So when I try to log in into the machine, so the first level of authentication is again my AD username password or the local username password. So let me just enter that. And for this demo purpose, I have set up Google Authenticator as my MFA method, but you can choose from any one of them. I'll show you that. So I'll just enter the 6-digit code that I have received on my mobile phone, and it is just going to validate me and give access to the machine. So right now what you saw was for your local desktop login. Similarly, we can do it for SSH login or on the Mac local login, as well as if you're trying to sue into any user in Mac, there also we can prompt for MFA. So talking about the MFA methods, so as I said, there are 15 plus MFA methods, which includes OTP over SMS. Okay, let me just show you this account. Yeah, which includes OTP over SMS, SMS link, OTP over email, all the third-party authenticator apps, Google, Microsoft, Authy. We also have our own authenticator app which supports soft token, push notifications, QR code. Then there is call verification, hardware tokens like YubiKey or display tokens. And last but not the least, there's security question. So you're free to choose from any of the MFA methods that you want. And as I told you, I can quickly show you all the types of machines that we support. So if you go into the desktop, you can see here that we support MFA for Windows, Linux, and Mac as well. And it is not only limited to this, but we can have it for your RD web, RD gateway, or basically any remote desktop service. So this is it regarding the Linux MFA solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. It was very insightful session, and we would have seen in the past that there were many instances where the Windows, Linux, Mac machines are not protected, and that has become, the entry point for all kind of ransomware attack. So again, we trade that MFA is essential for enhancing security and protecting against unauthorized access, whether it is protecting against password-based attacks, whether it is defense against stolen or compromised credential, whether you are talking about secure remote access, or as Mahesh was mentioning, whether it is compliance requirement. So MFA is current rider in the cybersecurity market because of all these issues. Moving on, next we are having a very special offered solution, which is protecting routers, networks, devices, firewalls, and rest up by using Tacacs protocol. Over to you, Pradeep.
Okay, thanks, Gaurav, again. So again, I'll just share my screen and show you what are different features and functionalities we do support for routers, switches, and other security network devices. So as Gaurav mentioned, so we have a requirement of MFA on top of the network devices as well, because network devices are the most critical devices in your network, basically the infrastructure. Why exactly the case is because they do connect you with the internet and the intranet as well. So all those devices are very critical to you, and that is a place where the attackers do attack to get into your network. So adding the extra layer of security on top of that is quite required. So right now we used to support only radius protocol, and we have added another support for Tacacs protocol, which is a specialty of router and switches. So if I go and add over here, over there, you just need to type in the IP address of your router and the switch, and just provide a shared secret which will be keeping the every packet encrypted. So this is basically the configuration part of adding any Tacacs device in miniOrange. Once you added it, it will be created over here. So now once you add the device, whatever the activity, or you can say the authentication take place, that will be taking place from miniOrange. So for example, if I try to authenticate into a switch, so this is my switch. Over here, I have provided some commands, basically authenticate into this particular server with these username and password. So once I click on this, so it will authenticate me against this switch or the mini server. And once the authentication is successful, it will give me a success. So this every activity or every user authentication can be checked over here in miniOrange. All those reports will be generated in authentication reports. The customer can see which user has logged in at what time, and other attributes which came along with the Tacacs request. Apart from that, we also support authorization as well. It is a second part of AAA, that is authentication, authorization, and accounting. So we also support authorization as well. So whatever the different activities the user is performing on the router and the switch, they can be captured. The customer, the admin can decide if those activities are allowed for that user or not. And if they want to block it, do they want to put MFA on top of that or not? So if I click on edit and just show you different privilege levels. So over here, one of the privilege level which I have defined, all the commands are allowed apart from a display command. So if a user is trying to display anything in the router or the switch, they will not be allowed to do that. So in my case, what I'll do, I'll just run this particular command where I'm trying to run a enable command. So once I run it, because enable command is allowed for me, so it is a success. But if I try any other command apart from this, so for example, if I try display resources command, so this is not allowed because display commands are not allowed. So on the basis of that, you can define which commands are allowed and which commands are not allowed. The administrator can again see the reports over here in miniOrange Tacacs authorization reports. Over there, you can see that this user was trying to run this particular command, which has failed. The user was also trying enable command, and it was a success. So all those activities can be captured with the help of Tacacs. I'll move forward with the radius MS chat part. So we have an introduction in terms of radius as well. We have introduced a secure method as compared to the PAP authentication method, which is currently being used. So that is MS chat. So if I go and into the apps option of miniOrange over here, you can see that I have multiple radius application. So right now, miniOrange does support MS chat with the help of a NPS server. So any NPS server or Active Directory server, you can say, that can be added in the external directories. And once you have added your NPS server, then miniOrange can be used as a MS chat authentication source for you from the VPNs or from the routers on the print switches. So all those things will be allowed then. So I'll just show you with my VPN how exactly the user experience will be. So once a user tries to authenticate, right now what happens, because PAP is not a secure authentication method, so MS chat is more secure as compared to PAP. So the users can select which authentication method they want to use, or the administrator can define which authentication method they should use. So over here, I have already selected Microsoft Chat version V2, which is MS Chat version 2. So if I click on connect, so it will ask me my credentials. Once I enter my credential over here, it will send me a push notification request. Right now, I'll receive an email on my email thread, and I just need to accept the transaction. Once I accept that, I am connected with the VPN. So VPN is connected. So on the basis of this, we decide the user session should be created or not. It also asks multi-factor authentication as well. Now move forward and just show you the reports which are being generated for this particular case. So if I go in the radius authentication report over here, if I click on this search button, so as you can see, it also shows me the different attributes coming with MS-CHAP request. So the administrator can see all the attributes as well, which are coming from the MS-CHAP request. So this is mainly it from my side in routers, switches, and the radius MS-CHAP. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Pradeep. Once again, miniOrange highlights the importance of protecting switches, routers, and firewall with MFA, because this is one of the most ignored topic, because it definitely talks about mitigating credential theft, protecting against insider threats, and there has been many attacks in the past when the routers, switches, firewalls are open, are not secured. Whether it is Mirai botnet attack in 2016, whether it's VPN filter malware attack in 2018, or recently Sinful Knock attack, which has attacked all Cisco routers, or DNS changer malware attack. So list is ongoing and the attacks are happening. So it's a high time for all of us to ensure that whatever the network secret network devices what we are having should get protected with MFA. That brings to our next demo of the most important topic of legacy application. We all are running the business and we all are using some or other kind of legacy applications which generally don't support standard protocol like SAML and OAuth. So miniOrange is having a strong, robust solution for all those legacy applications which support header-based authentication like SAP, Oracle. So my colleague Chirag will present the demo on how to protect the legacy applications with miniOrange IAM offering. Over to you, Chirag.
Thanks, Gaurav. So while I share my screen, I'll just give you an overview about what we mean by legacy application. So typically, like Gaurav mentioned, these are applications that are critical to your infrastructure, not your infrastructure exactly, but to your business itself. So these would typically be applications that have impact on your internal users. So maybe you use these applications for attendance for your employees, for your internal tax calculations, or maybe for payroll and so on. So an example of one of these applications is Oracle Seibel. You have Oracle Application Express, and you also have data visualization applications like Click or Alfresco or Tableau. So a key differentiator between legacy applications and your other applications is that typically these applications are hosted on your own infrastructure. So you might see that most applications of today, they're SaaS, they're hosted by the companies themselves on one of the many hosting providers out there. And another key difference is that these applications do not support any standard protocols. So for most of the applications today, all you have to do is look at the security guide, go into the security settings, and you'll find some protocol support already there out of the box. In the case of these applications, there's either support for legacy methods like header-based authentication, that is through HTTP headers, or there is simply no way to actually connect these applications to your single sign-on solution. So in that case, we have a solution that you can integrate into your infrastructure. So what you see here is the typical authentication flow. Let me just zoom in here so you can have a look at what the authentication flow looks like. This is fairly typical for any application which does not support single sign-on. So in case you need to access this application, you'll just hit a link in your browser. You'll be prompted for your username and your password, and then you'll be allowed to access this application. Fairly straightforward. There are a couple of disadvantages to this. Most of these applications listed here, they do not have support for single sign-on, and more importantly, they do not allow you any way to integrate multi-factor authentication into the application. So this means that you might have critical features inside your application. To give you an example, I might have a page inside my application which has critical information regarding my position in the organization, my responsibilities, and certain critical information related to my day-to-day activities. So this is not something that I would like to be able to access directly. So that is something that is not present in many of these applications. So for today's demo, what I've done is I've set up my Oracle EBS application. You'll see that this is a fairly standard login page. You have the username and password field here. I can just enter my credentials here and I'll be logged in. Now, once you have the miniOrange proxy in place, this is what your architecture will look like. So you'll notice that the difference between the previous authentication flow and this one is that you have an extra component here, the miniOrange proxy. This proxy can be hosted, again, if you have your legacy application in your internal data center, you can host the miniOrange proxy as well on the same machines. And now you have another component here on the right-hand side, which is your identity source. So since all of you are already customers of miniOrange, you probably are using miniOrange to store your identities or maybe some other external authentication source. Azure Active Directory is one of the most popular ones we've seen. So now the way the authentication flow changes in this case is that once you try to access your application, that request is going to go through the miniOrange proxy. So miniOrange is going to realize that this is the first time you're accessing your application and you're not authenticated. So you're going to be prompted for your username. You're going to be redirected, first of all, to your external authentication source. That could be Azure AD Okta or miniOrange itself. You're going to be prompted for your username and password, and additionally for your multi-factor authentication. So what we've seen is that mostly, most of our customers, they usually have Azure AD and they have something like push notifications set up on their Microsoft Authenticator applications. So you can easily extend that existing multi-factor authentication flow to all of these applications listed here. So once you're authenticated, the miniOrange proxy will receive a response, and then you'll be able to access all of the resources within your application. Now, this may seem a little complex at first, but the installation of this particular module is pretty straightforward. You can always avail of our support. And one crucial difference between our offering and our competitors is that you might if you have a look at the documentation for, say, Oracle, you have a lot of components you need to install, like Oracle Access Manager or Oracle Internet Directory. In our case, it's just the miniOrange proxy. And another crucial difference is that for applications that do not support any kind of authentication method, even HTTP header-based authentication, you can still use the miniOrange proxy to provide multi-factor authentication. So this is one crucial difference that I'd like to highlight. So I'll show you the exact login flow. This will be very similar to most of you who are using our solution for single sign-on. So all I have to do is click on the SSO login link. It's going to take me to miniOrange for it. It's going to prompt me to enter my credentials. So I'll just go ahead and enter my login credentials. So this is fairly typical when it comes to any single sign-on integration. For me, my users are stored in miniOrange. So I've logged into this application, the Oracle eBusiness Suite, as my miniOrange user. In your case, you might log in using your enterprise identity source, which could be your Active Directory or your Azure AD or maybe your Ping identity. So that's basically it for today's login demo. I can also show you what the actual connector looks like. So for Oracle EBS, I have this particular connector hosted. So you'll notice that it's on the same domain as my actual application. It's just hosted on a different port. So I have the connector hosted on port 8443, whereas here it's the application is hosted on 4443. So the settings are fairly simple. On the right-hand side, you'll notice that I just have the settings for my miniOrange tenant. I can choose whether or not to authenticate against miniOrange or maybe an external identity source. And the rest is just information that the connector uses to integrate with miniOrange. So for some of you familiar with OpenID Connect, these are the 3 parameters that you need. On the left-hand side, I have information specific to my application. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm using Oracle EBS. So there are a couple of settings that I need to configure inside the proxy. So this changes from application to application. Rest assured, if you have any kind of legacy application, we have the requisite information that's going to be needed. So as an example, I can show you an example of attribute mapping. So I might be logging into my application using either the username, the GUID, a globally unique identifier, or my email address. And I have the default homepage where the user should be redirected to after single sign. So these are just some of the details that we'll require, and then we'll have you up and running with single sign-on for your application. Thanks, everyone. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Chirag. It was really an insightful session where you have highlighted the importance of securing the legacy applications. And when it comes to the legacy applications, often they have outdated code and may contain known security vulnerabilities. So, because whether it is compliance and regulatory requirement, or whether most of the legacy applications generally often handle sensitive or valuable data, including customer information, financial records, or proprietary data. Failing to secure these applications increases the risk of data breaches, leading to financial loss, legal consequences, and damage to customers' trust also. And generally, in the scenario of current infrastructure, these legacy applications are integrated with the modern systems, such as cloud services or modern API. Because of inadequate security in this legacy application can create vulnerabilities that can be exploited to gain unauthorized access to those interconnected systems. So it's highly important for every organization who is using legacy applications to secure them with the MFA offerings. Last but not least, we are having a next demo of syncing your HRMS systems, and based on the roles and policy defined, how on the fly the user which gets created in the HRMS or CRMS system can be given access to set of applications. And similarly, when it gets removed from HRMS or CRMS systems, all the rights can be revoked. So that is the miniOrange broker, which syncs with your HRMS and CRMS system, and that brings out to our next and last demo. I request again all participants before moving on, if you have any question, please post those questions in the chat window or in the Q&A section. Once the demo gets over, we will try to answer all these queries. Over to you, Mahesh.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav, once again. So once we talk about user management or user lifecycle management, so basically what happens in an orthodox organization is that when a new user or an employee joins the company, the admin has to go and manually create that user in all the applications where the access has to be provided. Now, based on a recent survey, we found out that more than 40% of the time of the admin is just wasted in going and creating those users, updating those users, deleting those users, making sure that people have the right set of access, and this whole thing is manual. And as this process is manual, it is prone to a lot of errors, and it does not make sure that the permissions and everything are being updated on a timely manner. So what user lifecycle management does is that it automates the entire process of the user's lifecycle from your HR application to all your applications. Okay, so you basically have two sets here. One is your source applications and another is your target. So let's say that you have a HR system, or else you can have the miniOrange as well for your source from where you want to initiate the user onboarding process. And your target applications can be any kind of applications, mobile applications, cloud, on premise. So what this will do is that the user creation, updation and deletion, the whole process will be automated and it will happen within seconds. So there is no need to manually go and create users. On the same time, you can sync those users to your Active Directory as well. And all this can be governed using your roles, your departments, and multiple policies. So in this demo, what I have done is for my source application, I have a in-house application from where I'll be creating users. And as a target application, I am having Office 365, that is Azure. So let's go and see the exact demo. So I'll go to my source application. So this is my internal application. If I go to the people section and go to add user, so I'll just create a new user. This can be like a demo user. So I'll have to enter the basic details. So these all fields can be customized based on whatever user information is required in your organization. So we have just the basic details. Okay, so my username is a webinar demo user. So let's create a new account. And once a successful account is created, you will see a status message. And now when I go to Azure and check for the webinar, yes, so this is the user, which is the webinar demo user. This has been automatically provisioned from my source application, which is the in-house application, to Azure. So now this user can access my Office 365 as well. And on top of this, I can also provision specific roles, any custom attributes, like if you want to have the user's department or any additional information about the user, the same information can be passed to your target applications to make sure that the user, whichever you are creating, has the exact set of permissions and rights what he is meant to have. So all those things can be passed on. So this is mostly it regarding the user lifecycle management. And on top of that, I'll also show you some roles and capabilities that we have on the miniOrange dashboard as well. So you can create multiple groups, roles, and assign capabilities for each role. So as you can see here that we have created multiple roles in this section. So let's say if I talk about a user admin, and I can change the capabilities. I can select what kind of capabilities I want the user to have. Okay. So whenever I mention that there's a user and assign a specific role, assign this role to that user, all these capabilities will be passed on to the application as well. Okay. So basically with this you can seamlessly implement the joiner, mover, lever concept and basically have a complete user management from a single console which will be fully automated. Okay, so yeah, that's it about the user lifecycle management. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Mahesh. It was really insightful, where it was iterated once again the importance of user provisioning, whether it is efficient onboarding, access control, compliance and audit, user lifecycle management, security and risk management, whether it comes to the organizational productivity and efficiency, or if you want to have a centralized administration. This is very crucial. So that's all, guys, for the webinar, the live demo. What we have just had a very short polls for you, so requesting all of you to answer those polls, and then after that we can take your questions and our engineering team can interact with you. There was a poll which is launched, so you can just answer that in a minute and then we can have the rest session. So the poll is live. That will definitely assist us with the requirement what you have and about the webinar also. You can always reach out to us on idpsupport@securify.com in case of any queries.